Okay, looks like I'm live. Hello, everyone. Screen's going to come up. Looks like we have several people. Do say hello, please, those who are joining me and those who are going to be joining me in the future. I mean, later on, do say hello. It's nice to know who's joining me today. Last few weeks, and I really encourage you to watch the videos here on YouTube. I talked about the IELTS essay, task 2 for writing. I talked about how to plan the essay, how to understand the essay prompt, how to write introduction, body paragraphs, and conclusion. Those videos will give you a good, if you watch those and follow the tips and techniques that I talk about, will give you a great way of writing your essay for task 2. But today I'm going to do something a little bit different, but which hasn't really been covered. And it's going to be a little bit more in depth here. But I'm going to be talking about 8-band tips that you can use, that you should use for the entire writing section. That's right, for the entire writing section. It doesn't matter whether it's task 1, and it doesn't matter whether it's academic or general, and definitely for the essay. These tips apply for all those tasks. You just have to change it slightly, you just have to change things a little bit to fit the task, and that's it. Okay, so at the end, I'm going to have a short question answer session. If you want to ask questions, please post them in chat. Jude, say hello. I want to know who's joining me. It's always nice to be here with you guys. Again, my name is Martin Victor. I am an IELTS instructor. I've been teaching IELTS for over 8 years. I've also taught TOEFL, which is another test, but it's different than IELTS, but it's the same type of test in terms of English proficiency. I also teach spoken English, and I do interview preparation. So if you want to know more about me and you want to know more about my IELTS tutor, click on the button below and a representative will get in touch with you as soon as possible. Also, be sure to watch my videos and the other videos that say Nana Chabra ma'am posts here on YouTube. We also have videos on YouTube, and then follow us on Facebook as well. Be sure to follow us in those 3 areas, domains, YouTube here, Facebook, and Instagram, for free content. And then again, if you want more information about my IELTS tutor, do click on that button below and we'll get in touch with you as soon as possible, because we're really interested in helping you guys achieve your goals with IELTS. So let's get started. Okay, we got 5 people. Do say hello. It's nice to interact with you guys, so do say hello. All right, so let's get started. Now, I'm just going to give you a brief IELTS overview for the writing section. Very brief. Some of you, probably most of you already know it, but you have 2 sections. You have part 1, it's either academic or general, depending on which one you take. And so academic is basically interpretation of a graph. And that's 20 minutes long, okay? You have a total time of 20 minutes. If you're taking general IELTS, then of course you have to write a letter. Again, that's 20 minutes as well. And then for part 2, whether you're taking academic or general, part 2 is always an essay, and that's always 40 minutes. Okay. Hello, Esha, nice to see you. Welcome. I think this is your first time here, so nice to see you. Thank you for joining us. Okay. And again, okay, so you're taking general. Good. So I'm going to give you band tips to help you with both general and the letter and the essay here, Esha. These tips apply to both. And if you're taking academic, they also apply to task 1 academic as well. You're very welcome. Okay. And if you have questions, do post your questions, and I will have a question answer period at the end. So do post your questions. But I ask that you keep your questions on topic for writing. Okay. All right. So let's move on. Now, your 8-band tips. These are it. You have 10 tips. The first one is understanding the task. And this is important because each task is different. The letter is different. And you have different types of letters. So understanding what you're supposed to do is important. Same goes for academic, and same thing goes for essay as well. You also need to plan. And I've talked about planning. And really for planning, watch my video for planning the essay. I'll do future videos where I talk about planning for the letter and for the academic writing task. So, okay, so, but number 2 is planning. That's very important. Now, number 3 is your response needs to be relevant to the question. What does that mean? What does that mean? So what do I mean by being relevant to the question? Well, it has to be to the topic, and I'll explain that further, okay? And I'll explain all these in turn as well as we progress. And tip 4 is answer all parts of the question, okay? That's very important. Task 5, you want to organize the response logically. And this is also another important thing. You need to have good organization of your writing. And then organize your response into paragraphs. Number 7, use less common vocabulary with correct spelling. That's important as well. Then you want to avoid memorized language, phrases, or examples. And I'll explain that too, okay? A lot of centers, a lot of things you find online, they'll give you like formats that tell you exactly what to say, what words to use, and so on and such. You don't want to do that. You want to have, and I'll explain that further, okay? Number 9, you want to use a variety of complex sentences. And number 10, finally, you want to maintain appropriate tone, and that's important as well. So let's move on to the first tip, and that's understanding the task. Okay. Okay. So I'm not sure what you mean by cohesive, Esha, but if you have a question on that, do write it and I'll answer it at the end. Okay. So understanding the task. Important. It's important because there are different types of tasks for both task 1 and task 2, okay? For general, you have different letter topics and types. So you may have a formal letter or an informal letter or a semi-formal letter, and you may have different letters that there are different types of letters. So such as making a complaint or making a request, offering an apology, or giving advice. So those are just some of the topics and types of letters that you can have for the general task. Okay, so it's important that you understand it, understand what you need to do. For academic, you have different types of graphs, so for different types of graphs, you could have a line graph or a bar chart or a pie chart, a map. You could have a table, and then you could have combination graphs where you might have a line graph and a bar chart or 2 pie charts. I saw one test, for instance, where you had 4 pie charts, 2 maps. So though you have different types of tasks for academic, and then essay, you have different types of essay prompts. You have the one where you state your opinion and you have to support it. So you have to explain your position, give supporting points and examples. To do that, you have advantage, disadvantage, where you talk about the advantages and disadvantages. You have the two views where you discuss two different views, two opposing views. And then you also have problems and solutions. So you have different types of tasks for the essays. So and for example, as I gave here, so it's important to understand the task, because really you have to understand what you're supposed to do, what you're being asked to do. And understanding the task is important because it will, once you understand the task, you will then know how to handle it. You will then know how to handle the task. And that's important, okay? Now, and then finally, understanding the task will help you maintain relevancy. And that's that word, relevancy. And I'll get to that later. What do I mean by relevancy? But once you understand the task, it's going to be easier for you to stay relevant to the topic, okay? Now, planning is important because it helps you understand the task better. During the planning stage is when you look at the task, you look at the essay prompt or the letter prompt or the graph. It helps you understand the task better. That's when you want, that's the first step in planning, actually. Now, planning also gives you time to identify all parts of the task you must include, okay? That could be the viewpoints, or it could be the main features of a graph, or it could be the bullet points that you need to include in the letter. And then planning also helps you organize your task logically and coherently as well, okay? So you can so for instance, your essay, you can brainstorm your supporting points and put them in logical order. And then this is exactly what I mean here. So that's another thing planning does. It allows you to brainstorm and get these things together, okay? And then for task one, academic, it gives you time to analyze the graph. Gives you that time to analyze the graph. And then 6, it allows you time to understand how to write the letter for general task 1. And then planning is the key to successful writing. Keep that in mind, okay? Without planning, you can't write a very good letter or graph interpretation or essay. You need to spend time planning. So planning is key to success. All right, now relevancy, there's that word again, relevancy. Relevancy, this is the #1 concern, okay? This is the #1 concern because the entire writing must be relevant to the topic or question, meaning that everything has to be directly related to the topic or question. If it's not, your band score for task achievement will be lower, okay? It will be lower if you're not relevant to the topic. All right, so tips here for maintaining relevancy. First of all, stick to the topic. Ensure that everything is directly related. And then do not discuss side views. And this can happen during essays. So, and this happens a lot during the body paragraph. So you want to stick to you don't want to discuss side issues, right? Stick to the topics. Make sure that everything's directly related to the topic, the point is directly related to the topic. The examples are directly related to the point, and the details are directly related. Okay, so now organize your response logically. This is important because your ideas must be expressed and arranged clearly. And Esha, I think this might help you, okay? So you talked about cohesion. This is where cohesion really takes place. So your ideas must be expressed and arranged clearly, starting with an introduction, moving through to a conclusion. This is task 2, of course, or it's following the correct format for the letter, okay? And if it's academic, you want to include an introduction, the overview, and appropriate body paragraphs for task 1 academic. So that's why it's important. Now, tips here. So I hope you're listening there, Asha, and following me. Tips for this: be sure to use a range of linking words and phrases, okay? These are your connectors, such as, for instance, for example, in conclusion, all right? Those are, and I did a video on connectors several months ago. It's here on YouTube, and I did it for IELTS speaking, but it equally applies to writing. And I really encourage you, all of you, to watch that video, okay? Really watch that video, all right? But the key is you don't want to overuse them. If you overuse them, the examiners will see that this seems to be kind of mechanical, meaning that you're kind of using them as maybe a crutch to help you. So you don't want to overuse them, okay? Then you want to use adverbial phrases rather than single basic linkers, such as, and these are the following are adverbial phrases. Basically, they're a phrase built on a particular adverb. So we have as a result, on the other hand, in addition to, on the contrary, for instance. Okay, so use those rather than single word basic linkers. Those just, if you do that, if you use a range of single word basic linkers and some of these adverbial phrases, you will score higher, okay? You don't want to replace single word basic linkers with everyone with adverbial phrases. You want to use a mixture of them. Okay, so now referencing and substitution. You want to make sure you use referencing and substitution to avoid repetition. A lot of times I see in essays repeating the same noun, okay? So you want to use pronouns such as this, them, they, or the issue, the problem, okay? You want to use different words when you're talking about the same thing throughout, say, a paragraph, okay? So that's important. And that's an important aspect of cohesion, Esha. Okay, so moving on, you want to make sure you use punctuation to make your writing coherent. So this is the use of full stops, commas, and if you're taking academic task 1, you can use brackets, and using brackets correctly is important. for that task. Okay. Now, you also want to ensure the following things. You want your ideas to be sequenced logically. So for example, for your essay, start with your strongest point first and then work down to your least strongest point. For the letter, I would start with the first bullet point, then work your way down to the last bullet point. So for example, now, another thing is you want to make sure that your ideas are logical and they're easy to follow. This means that they can be understood by the reader, and that's very important. That's very important. And then use a separate paragraph for the introduction and conclusion. All right? Make sure you do that. And then finally, one paragraph for each idea or point in the essay or topic area. So for instance, in the letter, if you're taking general IELTS in the letter, you have 3 bullet points. You want to have a separate paragraph for each of those bullet points. Okay. For task 1, it's a little different because you're dealing with data sets. So you have to kind of figure out how to group them logically. But you want to have one paragraph generally for each idea or point or topic area. Okay, now organizing your writing into paragraphs. This is important for 2 reasons. Paragraphs are important for 2 reasons. First, they allow you to organize your writing into clear parts according to the format needed. So the essay format, you know, you have the introduction, body, paragraphs, conclusion. The general, for the letter, you have the greeting, opening statement, body, paragraphs, closing statement, signing off. For the academic, you have your introduction, overview, and body paragraphs. And of course, as I mentioned about the essay. And then without paragraphs, you cannot score above 4 bands in coherence and cohesion. If you do not write paragraphs, you will not score above 4 bands in cohesion and coherence. So it's really important that you paragraph. Okay, tips. You again, use paragraphs for each part of the writing task. Use connectors between and within the paragraphs. So again, use those linkers. And then leave a space, a line between each paragraph. So if you have the paper-based test, skip a line and start your new paragraph. If you're taking the computer-based IELTS, skip a line and then start the next paragraph. This way, it really makes each paragraph stand out so that it's distinct and separate from the others. All right, so make sure that you leave a space, a line between each paragraph. Then again, you want to use a paragraph for each point or idea. Okay. And then 5, use the correct format. And that's, and that's what at the top of the page, which I've talked about, use the correct arrangement, the format for the task. All right. Now, using less common vocabulary, using academic, using an adequate range for the task will net you 5 bands in lexical resources. However, you want to use less common vocabulary because this will allow you to score 6 and higher. Now, how higher depends on your accuracy in using the word and spelling. So that's important. Now, you should use precise word choices. It should be, the word choices you use should be precise, okay? Meaning there's no question about the meaning. And then you want to use everyday language that's used in speech. I'm not talking about Now I'll go into what you shouldn't use, but you want to use everyday language. You don't want to use big technical words, for instance. And you want to use words that you understand and are confident using. And then you want to use words and phrases that are related to the topic, such as topic-wise vocabulary. Or if you have task 1 academic and you have a line chart and it's describing a trend, you want to use trending language, for example. And then you want to use collocations and phrasal verbs. These are basically short word phrases, 2 to 3 words. Collocations, soil erosion is a good collocation, prominent position, promising forecast. These are good collocations. Promising forecast also is a phrasal verb, because and a phrasal verb is a verb that is a short phrase with a main verb, but it has a similar meaning. It has a similar but different meaning from the main verb. And I actually did live sessions on both on collocations and phrasal verbs, and I really recommend that you guys watch those. They are here on YouTube. All right, so now what you should avoid is spelling mistakes and typos. Then you want to avoid mixing British and American spellings. Use one or the other. Don't mix the two. And I would stick to the spelling style that you are most comfortable with and confident in using. So don't mix the 2 different types of spelling. You want to avoid imprecise words. So for instance, stuff or things or thing. Every time I see this in it, say an essay, I always ask the student, what do you mean by that word? What do you mean by that word? And so I have to kind of force them to tell me what they actually mean. And then you know, I tell the student that that's what they should write. The exact word should be there, not stuff or thing, for example. Using slang and old-fashioned words or phrases such as gonna and shoulda are definitely slang words. You want to avoid those. And then the masses, henceforth, those are outdated words. We don't, or in phrases, we don't use them currently in our writing. So you want to avoid those. So those types. And then you want to avoid overuse of synonyms. A lot of times in an essay, a student will mention say a noun, and then use a synonym throughout the entire essay. You don't want to overuse synonyms. If you can mention it once or twice, say what it is that you're using the synonyms for once or twice in, say, a paragraph, in each paragraph. So I would say at least once you should use the same word in a paragraph, and then use a synonym in the paragraph itself. And then in the next paragraph, use the same word, the exact word for it. So that's what I really recommend you do. And then you want to avoid idioms and cliches. Idioms we use primarily for speech, and cliches are phrases that really don't mean anything. They're so overused. They basically show that you lack original thought, and they no longer have any meaning. And then you want to avoid use of contractions. This is the case in terms of the essay and academic task 1. And then also in formal letters as well. In task 1, in the letter, you can use for informal letters, you can use contractions. Now avoid memorized language, phrases or examples. Why do you want to do that? So easy for examiners to spot. They're easy for examiners to spot, and it does not show your ability to write fluently, and it will actually lower your score. So this includes the following: overused phrases, idioms, proverbs, and cliches, often used in spoken language, but not in written language. These are all used in spoken language, but not written language. The next slide, I have some examples. But here are some examples here. For instance, health is wealth. That's a cliche, because what do you mean by health is wealth? The grass is always greener on the other side, golden oldies, or love is blind. Okay, so those are examples. And then here are some more examples. Now I got this from the IDP IELTS website. And so just to kind of show you some use of language, vague, this is primarily use of vague language or terms. So nowadays, nowadays an informal letter, we can use that, but we want to avoid that in, say, your essay or a formal letter. Crux of the discussion. We want to avoid that. So we want to go to the main or key issue is. And you can just go through this really quickly, and then we'll move on. And of course, you can always go back and review this, live session. So in case you miss anything, do review. Now, use a variety of complex sentence structures. Okay, now why do you want to do this? Well, to score 7 or above in grammatical range, you must use a variety of sentence structures, complex sentence structures, right? So you must also show that your sentence structures are accurate to score 8 and above. So you really need to work on sentence structures. Keep in mind that complex sentences should not be long and complicated, okay? A lot of times students tend to write very long, complicated sentences, thinking that's a complex sentence, but it's really a confusing sentence. So tip here for that would be to, go look online and study. There are pages online where you can look at sentence structure. And then punctuation. Keep in mind, punctuation must be accurate. It's really important that your punctuation is accurate. And then maintaining appropriate tone, right? This is important because it's an important consideration in all the writing tasks. First of all, in general, you have 3 tones to consider: informal, semi-formal, and formal. And that's important because it depends on who you're writing the letter to that dictates the tone to use. Then academic task 1 and task 2, the essay, are always formal in tone. And the reason why is academic task 1 and the essay are considered academic writing. So you need to have a formal tone. Now, and then tone also affects the vocabulary and sentence structure. Keep this in mind. So informal tone uses informal words and phrases such as idioms and more simple sentences as well as contractions. Formal tones use very precise words and phrases, fewer idioms, absolutely no contractions, and more complex sentence structures. So keep that in mind. All right, now to review, first tip is to understand the task, planning, response is relevant to the task, keep that in mind. Remember that you need to answer all parts of the question, and then you want to organize your response logically, and then you want to organize your response into paragraphs. You want to use less common vocabulary with correct spelling. You want to avoid memorized language and phrases and examples. You want to use a variety of complex sentence structures. You want to maintain appropriate tone. Okay, so that's it. So thank you for being part of this. Okay, let's see what 𝐂𝐎𝐄𝐄𝐓 has said. Okay, so 𝐂𝐎𝐄 says she has an issue in cohesion. She says she has to work on vocabulary and organization of content for speaking and writing both. Grammar is fine and other things too. She gets anxious. Okay, so so if you follow the tips here, 𝐂𝐎𝐄, these should help you with cohesion. The biggest thing is organization using the proper format. That's the biggest thing. And then using the connectors in between and within your paragraphs to connect your ideas. And I really suggest you watch that live session I did several months ago. It's here on YouTube on connectors. I think that will really help you. Okay. And I hope that helps. And getting anxious, you know, I used to get anxious myself when I was younger writing. I hated writing. Now I'm good at it. But it really takes confidence. Practice and becoming confident. If you feel nervous, take a deep breath and focus. Take a deep breath in through your nose, focus, and then let it out. And if you need to, you can do that anytime during the test, and that can help. Okay, so I guess there's no other questions. I hope that helped you, 𝐂𝐎𝐄. Now, I'd like to talk about briefly about �My_IELTS Tutor. These are some. Now, �My_IELTS Tutor is the premium online training service, much better than a brick and mortar institute. And the reason why is, first of all, you don't not only get these free live sessions that I do every Wednesday and Nana does on, I believe, Fridays, and we give you reels, but we offer all our students these things. But more importantly, you get the attention that you need where you don't in a brick and mortar institute, where you're sitting in a class with 20 to 30 students. You get more individualized service, attention. Our batches are small, at the most 5 students. We have individualized training where you can meet with one instructor for your entire training. We have one-to-one speaking sessions. We have mock tests. Every week we have mock tests. And we have, finally, one of the biggest things is we offer you a customized study plan that is centered on your strengths and enhancing your weaknesses, building up your weaknesses and enhancing your strengths so that you can score high. And this is what we offer our students. And we go the extra mile for you. These are our current trainers, senior trainers, I should say. Myself, Nana Chavra, and Ms. Amita, together we have around 30 years of experience training students, and we've literally trained thousands of students, and we're happy to continue doing so. It's our pleasure doing this. This is our mission to help everyone succeed in IELTS. And these are some recent scores from our students, and you can see 7.5, 8 bands. And when it comes to scores, we shoot for 8 bands for all of our students. All of our students. And that's our commitment. Our tips, our strategies are designed for 8 bands or higher. And so that's what we shoot for each student. And so this means that we're committed to doing everything we can to help you achieve that score or the score of your desire. But we're more committed to helping you achieve 8 bands and higher. That's our goal for each and every student. And we're committed to that. and and like I said, we will do everything we can to help you achieve that score. And that means that your bands are our responsibility. That's right. Your bands are the responsibility of your trainers, of my IELTS tutor. And like I said, we will do everything we can to help you. Elsha has a question. Okay, so she says, start going through all of my content. Loved hearing from you. Thank you. Well, thank you for participating with this, Esha. It's really great. I hope to see you next week. Do join me. I don't know what you mean by duration. If you're talking about the live sessions, they're around 30 minutes. And actually, that basically our live session is basically over now, but do follow us here on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram for more information. Click on the button below and one of our representatives will get in touch with you. Thank you for participating. It's great to see you. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye for now.